This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
What's up, Bill? How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. You never have a dark house. You never have cold pots and pans like Santana apparently did, because you work at home and you are the cookmaster at home, too.
Stays busy. Got 7 kids coming and going, various places. No. The lights stay on.
Yeah, they do. Hey, Matt and I earlier were talking about the potential of a 3-way tie of undefeated teams in the ACC. Louisville, Florida State, North Carolina. We went through the schedules. If I missed it, doesn't look like these schools play each other in the regular season. So do you think this is something that we may end up seeing more often with the growth of leagues and so many league members now, that you may end up deciding who plays in the conference championship game based on tiebreakers? Oh,
yeah. I remember a famous one was what was the season? 2008, I believe. Yeah, it was a 3-way tie in the Big 12 with Texas Tech, Texas, and Oklahoma. And every league has their own tiebreaking rule, meaning it's not a uniform national NCAA rule. And their rule was the final BCS standings will determine who the team that gets to go to the BCS championship game, and it was Oklahoma. And I remember Barry Switzer was part of the broadcast, so everybody kind of thought the fix was in. But that was one of the early, most famous ones that I recall.
Bill, speaking of Oklahoma, they pulled off a little bit of an upset against Texas, and they might have to meet again in the Big 12 championship game. What were your thoughts on that game and how Gabriel played running and throwing the ball?
Like I told you guys, that game was a referendum on Oklahoma. I felt like I had a good feel for Texas, and Oklahoma more than proved their worth there. Their defense, remember, 4 straight plays on the 1-yard line, couldn't score. That was the moment of the game right there. That was the biggest part of the game. Dylan Gabriel played well. Their defense played stout. It's a disciplined team. Last year they were not disciplined. They were a total mess. And I'm not predicting it, but if you'll recall, in the year 2000, it was Bob Stoops' second year, and they went 7-6 the year before, lost to Ole Miss at a bowl game, won the national championship. Again, I'm not equating the two, but this is Venables' first year. They were 6-7 a year ago, and they are remarkably improved.
I saw Oklahoma lost Andrell Anthony, though, for the remainder of the season. Yep. He's their top receiver. Yep. I mean, how does that that's going to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into that.
Correct. He's a Michigan transfer, and that's hurtful. That is hurtful for them. But boy, they look well coached right now, and they have Jeff Lebby, who's a very good offensive coordinator. I think he's one of the top 5-10 offensive coordinators out there right now, and I think they'll be okay there. I really do. They had a young freshman in the secondary. Caleb Downs made 2 huge plays, 5-star safety from a year ago. For that first pick, that was a batted ball from Quinn Ewers, and then Downs later caused a fumble. It was a remarkable game.
Well, also that's going to hurt Dylan Gabriel's rising candidacy for the Heisman Trophy. You know, after he was amazing against Texas, and nobody really brought him up preseason or really early in the season as a potential Heisman candidate, but here he is. That's
true, but I tell you, and they've got 2 losses. Nobody's playing better than Jake Daniels at LSU. Caleb Williams, Mr. May, I don't care. Now, again, he's not going to win it because they've got too many losses, but I don't see a quarterback playing better than the quarterback at LSU.
Bill, I do have a question for you. With the 2 quarterbacks going, Oregon and Washington, could this be a Heisman moment for one of these kids this weekend?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's in Seattle. Michael Penix, Caleb DeBoer, who had him previously when they were at Indiana together. They've got 2 first-round receivers. I like the home field there, but it ought to be. That's the top game of the weekend. That's a monster game. Guys, that has all kinds of implications. It has league and it has playoff implications. Now, again, it's not the end of the book, but it's a big marker this season, that game right there, because we may have some clogging at the end of the year where you got to sift people out, and that head-to-head could be a committee tiebreaker.
You said clogging. All of a sudden, I thought it was dancing. You're talking about a bottleneck. Yeah, it just threw me off for a quick minute. Alabama, right. Not vintage Alabama, but yet they lead the division. Jalen Milroe is making plays with his legs in the deep passing game. They do have an offensive identity. Their defense is getting after the quarterback. And they get the Razorbacks this next Saturday, and Arkansas is having a lot of trouble on the offensive line. What do you think could happen in Bryant-Denny on Saturday?
Alabama has found their identity, and that's we're going to win ugly. We're going to win ugly. We're going to be physical. They're not going to be overly impressive with their running game. They're good there, but they're not dynamic there. And they're going to have to grind out some games. Milroe has made plays in the passing game, but that's not going to be an overall team strength. The defense is vastly improved from a year ago. And the thing about it is, even though they have a bunch of big-name recruits playing, it's kind of a no-name defense. There's a couple of guys you would identify, but it's not a big-name, brand-name Alabama, all these superstar guys you know, at least not yet. And it's going to be that'll be a tough match up for Arkansas physically in this ball game, particularly you just identified D-line to O-line. Be tough.
Bill, I want to ask you another game that I am going to be very interested in is Texas A&M at Tennessee. Big-time game right there. What are your thoughts on that one?
It's all about Joe Milton. If Joe Milton plays well, which he runs hot and cold, Tennessee probably wins that game. Just because it's a Neyland. And I'd say the personnel is pretty even. Man on man, pretty even. I think A&M's got probably the best, deepest defensive front in the league. But overall, I think those teams are relatively player-for-player even. I do think Tennessee, which is the top overall running team in the league, is probably going to have trouble running into the teeth of that A&M defense. But if Milton plays solid to well, I think Tennessee probably wins that ball game.
Bill, how much do you put success or lack thereof of a specific side of the ball, offense or defense? How much do you put that on the coordinator? That is a big topic of conversation here these days.
I think it depends on the role. It depends on, is this carte blanche? Now, obviously, the coach has ultimate veto power, whoever the guy is. But what's the power of the coordinator? If he's the guy that is thinking everything out and strategizing, is big. I mean, offensive brain power is a big thing in today's game. And we talk about a guy like Jeff Lebby or some of the hotshot offensive minds that are out there. Those guys make a big difference. And it has to do with understanding your personnel and what you can do to win with your personnel. And no, I think it's really big. I think the whole thing about it's about players is vastly overrated. It's very important. But if you don't have the right coaching leadership, it doesn't matter who you guys are.
Yeah, who's the blame in that Miami game? Is that on the coordinator? I know Miami gets North Carolina this week, but when's the last time you've seen something like that happen?
Mario Cristobal when he was at Oregon against Stanford. That's the last time. I mean, one guy owns the patent on that idiocy. Look, that falls kind of like Marcus Freeman when you've got 10 men on the field for 2 plays when it's time to win the ball game. You can't have that happen. And they've done it before. He had some kind of innocuous answer after the game about how he teaches the running back to keep 2 hands on the ball. Well, that shouldn't even be a factor because if you kneel down, Georgia Tech has no timeouts. The clock starts and the game's over. They don't have any time to do anything else. And you still have it down, so the game's over. Horrible miscue. I mean, just embarrassing.
I saw Billy Napier, talking more on Florida coaches here. So they've got South Carolina this weekend. He was talking yesterday about being better mentally prepared, and he and the coaching staff are going to be paying attention to the amount of sleep that their players are getting. I feel like that about my kids sometimes. They wake up a little bit groggy. They don't look ready for school. I'd be like, dude, go to sleep earlier this time. Put the iPad away for crying out loud. I will say, It's the first time I can remember a coach blaming some struggles on sleep. But it might be right.
I guess Billy Napier is giddy and high because they just rolled up Vanderbilt, right? Talking about a false sense of where you stand right now. They got to go into Williams-Brice. I think that's going to be a tough game for them to win. Spencer Rattler is overall had a really good year. They are electric at wide receiver. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. They can get 20 hours of sleep. Doesn't matter to me.
How do you perceive a football team that struggles to win close games? I think Arkansas, I don't have it all in front of me, but they it's
right.
the last calendar year, if you date back to the A&M game, a lot of close games that have been within one score. This 4-game losing streak, 3 of them have been by one score or less in terms of like a field goal or a touchdown. And maybe it's different team to team, but when you have a team that consistently is losing close games, do you view it as we're that close or they're that close to turning it around, or that's your identity and you're not making enough plays to win?
Winning in that kind of environment, close game atmosphere, is an art form. And it's not just let's win. It's an art form. And I'm sure Matt will tell you, you get into the habit of losing those games, and it is infectious in a bad way. It's kind of like not hitting. You're a baseball guy. Not hitting in baseball is just as contagious as hitting in baseball, right? It can infect you. And I think that's probably where Arkansas is. It's here we go again. We can't pull these games out. That is a mental thing, which is very difficult because you can't have a team meeting and say, okay, from here on out, we win these games. You can't do that. You have to know in your mind that you have the ability and you will win those games. And I think they're lacking that right now.
Do you think they have the talent, Bill, to get to 6 wins, to somehow salvage this game? I know if it's Alabama, let's say we say that's an L, that's 2-5. You do get 4 of your last 5 at home with the non-conference in there. Got to go to Gainesville to play Florida on November 4th. But do you see a path that this Razorback team could get to 6?
Still got. Let me think about the schedule.
You go Mississippi State, then you get a bye week, then you go at Florida, then you're home Auburn, home Florida International, home Missouri.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's a bunch of dudes in there. I mean, Missouri is a good football team. They are electric. This Luther Burden they have would start for any team in America. He'd start for Ohio State's wide receiver group. He'd start for Texas. He'd start for Georgia. This guy's an unstoppable green grass player. Brady Cook's playing about as well at quarterback as anybody in the league not named Mr. Jaden Daniels. So that's going to be tough, guys. It really is.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.